Okay, this is what the talk is about. Okay, let me quickly. I don't want to talk too much about myself, but I've been around for way too long. 30 years. It's like I had to update the slide. I was like, what? 30 years? No. Okay. I studied for my sins, big mistake, studied electronic engineering. Started SensePost and started Paterva. That was, why do I have the slides here, not here? It's kind of weird. Hang on. Let me see if I can have them here as well. No, I'm gonna have to like present like this. Started a company called Vortimo. Spoke at too many conferences and all of that. Right. Okay. I used to be in IT security, like many of you, and then I was in OSINT, and then I was into kind of software development and OSINT and software. I guess I'm still there. I kind of did a little thing on automated AI-driven influence campaigns. If you could remember, I did a talk about that last year. I did a thing about attribution of influence campaigns. I thought it was really interesting. I do the attribution stuff mainly because I want to test if my software works, and so you kind of get to have to use it. Now I've built a thing called Ubicron. Everybody that was at my workshop yesterday saw the software, and I showed it to you. I didn't show it, didn't get to show it, but it's okay. And I kind of do stuff, right? I just do stuff. I feel like I'm furniture in the security scene, but that's how it is, I guess. Okay, so the title, you would see in the title, it says Zero Snake Oil, Just Real Stuff. And I'm a very pragmatic person, and I try to be very pragmatic about stuff. And I'm like, okay, this works or this doesn't work. And that's kind of what I want to show you today. So I had this conversation with a friend of mine, Andrew McPherson, which is sadly not here today. I sent him the slides, and he was like, so does this stuff actually really work like you have it in the slides? That's the slides that you're going to be seeing. And I'm like, yeah, those are live examples. And some of the stuff is kind of hard to believe when you see it. It's actually really cool, right? But I also want to show that it kind of screws up and it kind of breaks. And I want to show you not just, ooh, this is shiny and amazing, but it's also not amazing sometimes, right? So we have kind of both of those things. Okay, so I have no idea how long this talk is. Because I haven't done this talk before. But when I asked B-sides for a slot, I said, like, can I have a 30-minute slot? And they were like, oh, it's all good. And then when I started building the slides, I was like, I ended up on slide 37. I was like, ooh, this is going to be kind of tight. So I politely asked if they had a normal slot, and so now we got a longer slot, and I'm going to try to finish in time. So in the process, I might finish early. I also realized that after this, there's nothing after this. There's closing there's nothing. So it's beers after this. So I'm literally standing between you and drinks. So I do appreciate that as well. Okay. So OSINT is a lot about reading, right? If you do OSINT, you're reading a lot. You should be reading a lot of pages and scrolling and understanding and trying to find details and remembering connections and like making connections between things and this. And so if we think about AI today, AI is actually pretty good at that, right? It's pretty good at like reading stuff. So when you think about should AI and OSINT sit together, you go, hey, that's maybe not such a bad idea. It seems like it's a good idea, right? And so right now, AI is already kind of good at reading stuff and remembering stuff and looking for details, right? But OSINT is also about exploring things and be like, oh, if I have this thing, I should be able to get that thing. And if I look this up in this way, I can do this. Now, like I have an IP address and I want to look it up on a database or something like this. And right now, AI is not so good at that. But we're going to talk about that a bit later. For now, let's just talk about we got the information and we want to be able to do something with it. The problem that you have is that AI is trained on the surface web, right? So when you look at all the models, they basically feed it a whole lot of information, and it's trained on that. And actually, if you think about OSINT is about also surface level stuff, right? That's what we can see and what we know. And so already it works kind of well, asking AI agents about or AI assistants about things that are on the internet right now. But when you're doing an investigation, you might be looking into things that are kind of deep web. And I want to very much clarify this point, that the deep web is not the dark web, right? Those are two different things. The deep web is things that is beyond some kind of a credentials or capture or something that cannot be indexed by a search engine, right? So let's think about that. Most social media is like that. Like when you're browsing Facebook, Google is not scraping those pages because you logged in and you are friends with this person. And so Google is not friends with that person. So they can't scrape those pages. So that's deep web. It's not scary or whatever. It's just not indexed, right? Anything that's beyond a capture is deep web, right? Your intranet is probably also deep web because it can't be indexed by Google. Okay. The dark web is Tor and .onion. Different place, not the same thing. Okay. AI doesn't have visibility on either of those. It doesn't have visibility on deep web and it doesn't have visibility on the dark web, right? It wasn't trained on it. It can't be trained on it. You can see why, right? Okay. Now, so what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to expand AI's visibility into the deep web. So the way that we do this, AI has this concept called drag that you must have heard about. If you haven't, you should look at it. And that's called retrieval augmented generation. What it means is, it basically means you give me some data and I will look at the data that you've given me and you can ask me questions about that data. And you might think, well, what is the point of that? But if you, let's say you're a law firm or someone like that, you can upload all of your contracts and things that you looked at and all the cases and you put it into the AI. And then all of a sudden the AI knows about that stuff and it's magic shit, right? Okay. And you can actually do it today, right now. You could do it right now. You go to ChatGPT, you say, I think it's called create a GPT, a private GPT or something like this. You build up a GPT, and there's a little button, it's a really small button, but it's really powerful, that says upload the files. And that's where you upload your files. Okay, and it's not just OpenAI that has this. I believe Anthropic has got it as well. So there are other providers that do this as well. And we're going to talk about a little bit later. So now you're going to kind of see where I'm going with this stuff, right? I'm going, well, there's this thing called drag. We can upload things. Maybe if we have some of the pages that we have that we browse to, we can put it into RAG and then we can have an assistant that we can ask questions about. And that seems like a really nice idea. And that is exactly what we've done. So, but before we do that, I want to take a little step back. And the step I want to take back is, does it even work? Is there even a way that this thing can work? There's many questions that I had about this. As a start, what kind of, can we take a web page? How do we save a web page? Who knows? What's the format that we save a web page in? Anyone? MHTML, not HTML, not HTML, MHTML. Very different thing. kind of the same, but not really. But MHTML embeds all the images, all the JavaScript, all of that shit, and puts it in a little box. Can we upload that as a RAG item to ChatGPT? And the answer is you can't, because it doesn't understand it. It doesn't understand that format. And so those are kind of the questions that you got to ask. If I have a picture on Twitter with like text underneath it, how do I get the AI to understand what's in the picture and what's in the text, and to have that as a little thing that it now knows the context between those things? And how much can we put into RAG before it's like, oh, it forgets? Can we just like put in like megabytes and megabytes and megabytes of data and then expect it to work? So there's a lot of questions that you need to answer for this thing to work. And this is kind of where you need to do research, right? This is what the research is about, this page. And then how do we even know if it works? So if we then ask the AI question about the pages, how do we evaluate if the response that we're getting back is a good response or bad? I mean, it's not like you're going to rate the answer 1 to 10, right? You can maybe get another AI to do the rating, but then you see chicken egg situation. So these are the kind of questions that you need to answer. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to answer those questions. I just want to build this thing, man. Let me just build it, and then let's see. Because I'm very I'm very kind of a doer. I'm a doer. I'm not so much a thinker. I don't want to think. I was just like, let's try it and see what happens, right? So we wanted a way that we can easily take the pages that we browse to and take the text from the pages and then send it up to RAG and then ask it a question and then kind of eyeball the answer and say, it seems to be okay, or no, it's bad. Or we could take like 7 months or 9 months and try to build a test harness and things and like, but I'm not that kind of guy. Okay. So we already had this tool called Ubicron, which I can't show you because then it's a vendor talk and I'm not a vendor talk guy. Ask the people that was in my training. But we had this thing that was kind of already doing this. So all we had to do is say, take the page that you have and send it up to RAG. And it took us a month to build the AI component of this thing. Now, before we go into this particular thing, I want to kind of do a sidetrack, and you'll see how I'm going to sidetrack and then come back again, right? So within Ubicron, we have this ability to take portions of the screen as a screenshot to just show, hey, that's important. Snip that, do a clipping of that little part of the screen, right? We call it screen clippings. I thought it is like, that's why we don't have marketing people. They would be like, no, that sounds way too unsexy. But we call it screen clippings because that's what it is. And it's a really nice way to create context between things because it has the picture and it has the text. And so those things kind of live together, and it gives you a really nice way of knowing that's what it is that we're looking at the moment. And within the tool, we have a way that the user can annotate the thing. So they can immediately write something on top of it and say, hey, it's a this. And we have a way that the user can tag it and say, we're creating a tag and this is a this. But both of those things are optional. So because we kind of don't want to dictate to the user that everything that you take a clipping of, you now have to write something on. That's kind of boring, right? So we might end up in a situation where we have a whole lot of images, but we don't really know what's in the image, right? So how do you now deal with this later on? Let's say you've done an investigation that's like 3 weeks long and there's 150 little screen clippings, and I want to search for something in there. Well, you just can't. But obviously you can, because we can send those screen clippings to the AI and then say, describe what it is that you're seeing. And then we can take the output and we can index the output and we can search the output. And it works remarkably well, right? It works remarkably well, right? So There was a opstand. Was the opstand again? Riot? No, protest. There was a protest in Amsterdam just before I did build the slides, which is a couple of weeks ago, and it was on Twitter, and I just took a couple of pictures, of this thing. Now imagine you want to go through all of those pictures, and you want to see all the pictures where they feature the police. How would you do that? Okay, well, let's see. Right, so this is the screen clipping that I took. This is the actual screen clipping. So remember I said you want to have the text and the picture for context together, right? So you send this off to OpenAI and you say, hey, describe what it is that you see. And it goes, okay. And also we're kind of clever about it because when we send it off, we say this came from this URL, because we know the URL, right? And we also say things like the user annotated this picture as follows. So when the user, which is the analyst, actually writes something about the image, the AI knows what the analyst wrote, so it kind of has that little context. And if we tag it, we also send the tag to the AI. Now remember, it's optional, but it does provide that context if it's possible. So here it goes. It's okay. This is image is from Twitter. It knows that. It doesn't recognize the flag, right? You see that it says the flag is composed of 3 vertical bars. This is kind of important. You'll see why later on, okay? Then it says, and this is good, hey, because the resolution on the thing is cock. And it goes, okay, the officers are wearing yellow high visibility jackets with the word politie written on them, indicating that they are Dutch police. It's never saying here that it's Dutch police, but it knows because that's what it translates to, right? And then it kind of also says there's text. Obviously, it does OCR on the text, so that's a nothing burger, right? It just does the OCR. It translates the Dutch into English, and it knows that it's about a protest that has to do with the mayor of Amsterdam, because now it grabs some of the surface training that it had, and it knows that, right? That's pretty good, right? So now, when we search for the word police, well, we ran it across every screen clipping that we make, automatically goes in the back end off to the AI. It gets a description, and now we search for the word police and we find it wherever there's police dudes, right? In this thing. It's kind of cool, right? I think it's kind of cool. Okay. We also, to make sure that we are not missing the text, we run this thing, Harry wordt wakker. We run this thing through we run this thing through a very cheap OCR. It's a cheap OCR, costs us nothing. We implement it as a microservice, right? And so if there's text on the screen, in this case, it said, you could read what it said there at the top, and I don't have to say it. Then it picks that up as well. Okay, so this is an easy win for us. There's nothing to this, right? It's super easy to do and works really well. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the actual page text that's in the page, right? So we looked at images now. You're going to see how we're going to fit this in. Okay, so I'm going to give you examples, but I don't want to make examples out of nothing because it needs to be something real. So I took a few people's Facebook pages, right? But these are not suspects in anything. These are normal people, right? And I blurred out their faces and I removed their names. But if you recognize some of them, don't tell them that they're in my presentation. Okay, because these are normal people. They've done nothing wrong. They play paddle with me. And, I don't. So I'm trying to make it so that you don't know who it is. Okay, but maybe you recognize someone. Okay. So what did I do? I browsed their Facebook profiles and I looked at their friend list, and they've got open friend list. So I literally scrolled through the friend list. It's not like, you got to do something. You just tag the page and you go, I want this page to be part of this thing. It knows nothing about the fact that it is Facebook. There's no special source. It's just the text. And the text is even not even nicely parsed. It's like, it's really, you got ads in between and you got like, trending hashtags and all that shit, the headings. It's not, we don't do anything to the page that knows that it's from Facebook. So that's kind of what makes it cool. So the AI is like, we kind of know that you just scrape this page from the DOM with like literally HTML2 text library, and then that goes into it's not clean text. It's not clean text. Okay, so now look at this. I mean, I don't know, it blows my mind. So I go, as a start, I asked the AI, well, we had 5 users here, right? Who's the common friends between these 5 users? Literally, that's it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, we'll try to figure that out. Like Arena, I took out all the surnames, but the names are the real names, right? It goes, Arena has Trevor, Gary, Julian, Vicky, and Warren. Trevor has Julian. Gary's got Trevor, Julian, Vicky. Albie has, so we think Julian, Vicky are common between these 5 friends. And this, for me, is magic shit. Like, I don't know about you, but like, I look at this and I go, holy shit, it didn't know it was on Facebook. I didn't have any algorithm or some crazy scraping thing. It just knows it because it's got the data, right? Okay, we could do things like, look at this one person's Facebook post. Where is she from? And it's like, well, she's from Bulgaria, but she lives in London. I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't see that. I kind of forgot about the fact that it was there on a page somewhere, but it was there. And I checked it out, and that's how it is. And then you go, okay, well, when you're looking at OSINT, you're looking at things like date of birth. So in this entire like scrolling for 14 days of Facebook posts, was there ever someone that indicated when was her birthday? And it's like, yeah, her birthday is the 14th of February. Ta-da! And then you go find it and you go look and you go, oh, yeah, it was there. On the 14th of February, someone said to her, happy birthday. And so because we rag up that item, it now knows, right? You could do the following. You could be like, okay, well, I don't want to go through all of this stuff, but through all of this, who's the people that interacted with her the most? It says, okay, it's Julian. And again, for OSINT, that's the stuff we want to know, right? And then when you find it, you see they interacted. And I'm like, does she speak any other languages? And it goes, yeah, she speaks Bulgarian. And I'm like, okay, well, who does she speak Bulgarian to? And it's like, she speaks Bulgarian to these people. That's cool shit. Like, this for me is magic. Like, I find this to be magical, right? And that's also the kind of things that you want to see. Remember, I could be browsing 17 people's Facebook profiles and then say, of all of these people that you browse, that I browsed, who interacts with who the most in a different language other than English, and be able to do it. It doesn't matter what I ask; this is going to know, right? And again, the effort here is 0. The effort is I browse it, and I then say, okay, the stuff that I browsed, can I interrogate these things? Now, okay, so we've now looked at the browse pages, but we can send more things to RAG. We can send, we have a section in here where we take notes. So if you want to take notes, you put it in there. So we can take that. We can take, and we can also take the clipping text. So when you take a image, you write something underneath. So we send that. The tags, the OCR. So all of these things, we basically wrap all of these things up and we send it to the AI. Okay, and now why would we do that? Because now the AI knows the context of what we are talking about. Okay, so remember in the past, we had that flag that said, oh, it's this flag composed of 3 vertical bands, no. But when I give it all the text in the OCR and I give it the report, it goes, now I can say, from the documents available to you, list all the URLs with the Palestinian flag. And it goes, oh, it's these 2, because now it knows that that flag is the Palestinian flag. Why? because it sees all the text around it and understands what it is that I'm looking at, right? So it gives it that context. It's kind of, I know the rest of the story. And that's kind of cool. So now what can we do? What can we do with this? Why is this useful? Plus, plus. I think it's very useful. I'm going to give you examples of things that we've done where some of it is redacted, some of it is people I play paddle with. So it's a combination of real things and kind of more contrived things. This is a real thing. This is a real thing. You can do things like this. I don't know if you can read it. I'm going to just quickly read it to you. The prompt is, by looking at the content of the postings listed on social media, can you find any spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes or speech pathology other than proper use of punctuation? Give examples of what you found. So we want to see if the person, in this case it was one person that we're looking for, is making any kind of mistakes. That's a giveaway that we can check on other documents if they're making the same mistake. Right? Other documents being maybe email that they send or other correspondence or anything that we have where this person identity is known to us. And it's like, hey, they screw up. They write the word know, know as knowing, as N-O and not as K-N-O-W. And that's a tell. It's a tell that someone has. That's a mistake that they're making. They're making that mistake over and over again. And it gave us the ability to identify the person because we had other writings of the person. Okay, and there's all the things. And you must understand that this comes out of a sea of browsing, This is like 2,500 pages of browsing that is now analyzed for this kind of thing. Okay, this is kind of funny in a way. Also not that funny in a way. So we can look at an organization and look at people and then say, hey, I want to know who should be a target for phishing, right? Based on what I read. Okay, so I want to read you the prompts. And again, this is all live stuff. So I said, given everything you know about the documents available to you, who do you think is most likely to fall for social engineering scam? And then you hit trust and safety. And the thing is like, I'm not going to answer that. And I'm like, don't say that. Come on, try again. And it goes, no. So then I thought, okay, maybe our thing is broken. Like we have a bug. The thing doesn't want to. So I just go, okay, how is Gary and Tyrone related? And it goes, oh, yeah, Gary and Tyrone are members of this family, and Tyrone is okay. So Gary is Tyrone's uncle, and I'm like, okay, cool. So the thing works. Like it turns out that it works. So I said, okay, well, now I've got to do a little bit of prompt, kind of like, and I said, given the data available to you, who's most likely to be influenced by social media, which is the same thing. It's like phishing scam, and it goes, oh, it's this person. So I can't tell you because she's described as a model and an influencer with a very active Instagram account. And I'm like, okay, cool. That seems to be the thing. And I said, okay, well, let's just see, if we say, again, these are people I play paddle with. So I'm like, given the data available to you, assuming that the people mentioned in the research are part of a drug syndicate or family, whose absence would be most disruptive to the family? And again, I'm just seeing if the system works. Like these are not, anything like this. And it goes, based on the information available, George is likely the key member of the absence would be most disruptive to the crime family. I said, they're not a crime family. He's referred to as Padrino, which translates to Godfather in Portuguese. And I'm like, this thing is making up shit, right? Okay. Until I go to his Instagram account and I look, and he has it on his Instagram account. And then I'm like, shit, this is kind of like a little, I don't know, this guy I'm playing paddle with, maybe he is like, Okay. George, if you're ever watching this video, I know you're not. Okay. The other thing we can do that's really cool is we can do timelines. So you could just tell the thing, hey, create a timeline of events. And then it says, okay, here's everything that I know that has dates, and I will create a timeline. And there you go. Like this is a thing of PKD, Philip K. Dick. And we say create a timeline of what he did, and these are all the books he published and what happened to him. And so for reporting, obviously, this stuff is magical, right? So we can also say, look at the clippings, all of the screen clippings, and see, look at all the clippings that I've made and look for anything that's interesting in the clipping. So I did a thing here that says list all brands, logos, trademark companies in the screen descriptions. And one of the things, again, I'm blanking out the photos, is like a photo that was taken at a restaurant in Pretoria called Cream. Anyone that's been to Pretoria, you'd know about this. And it picked it up from the background there. It's kind of cool, right? It says, okay, Cream, the logo appears as part of a backdrop in one of the images. And then all the other branding as well that's there. So there's signage, there's like Strava logo appears on a screenshot. Obviously, it's a screenshot of Strava, and so on. And so this is really cool. Now, again, I was kind of surprised by this thing. It's blanked out, the face, right? This is a real thing. This is not people I play paddle with. And so I'm testing this thing and I keep on getting this weirdness. Like I go, one of the prompts that I have is in the description of the images, are there any identifying marks that would identify the phone or camera that was used to take the picture? And this thing keeps on saying, yeah, there's this picture that has a Huawei Nova Y61. And I was like, yeah, that is what you waar sien, né? That's like where? And it goes, it's this picture. And I go, no, it's not. Well, it turns out it is there. It just, I can't see it because the contrast there at the bottom is like super cuck. And you do, and it's there. It's literally, it pulled it out there and I didn't see it. So it kind of sees better than you can see. And those are the kind of things that makes this kind of cool, right? Because it doesn't miss these kind of things. I missed it all along, right? Okay. This is also like a month investigation, 118 pictures, 2,000 plus pages, 48 pages of notes. And then you go, okay, who's likely the operator of this Facebook account? And it goes, it thinks it's this person. And you say, Ma, come on, you got to explain this. And then it goes, bam, 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 bam. This is why he mentioned it here. You can read through it or not because this is redacted. So I'm not saying it solved this, but it kind of helped a lot to know this, right? The other thing that's really crazy that you can do is you can say, okay, I'm kind of stuck. Can you give me ideas of what I can do next? And then again, the prompt says, give a list of clickable URL of Google searches that will take this research to the next level. Do not use obvious examples. Look at the research and give searches that will yield new, fresh angles or insight. Make sure not to include any terms of or links that was already visited. So it means, don't give me the old things, give me new ideas, give me new things, and I can click on it, and you can literally just click on it and it takes you to cool stuff. So this was on, the research was on political influences and things like this, and you can see, new perspective or influence, blah, 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 impact of, I'm not going to say who kind of propaganda, but some propaganda in Africa, social political movements, those kind of things. These are all things that you can click on. And you can even say, give me completely new ideas of where I can take my research based on what I already have. And these things are not bad ideas. These are good ideas, right? Based on the things that I've already seen, right? But now you're going to say, yeah, And it's gonna like I'm gonna have to type in a lot. Now I'm gonna type and type and okay. But what we've done is we built this thing in Ubicron that is a prompt editor. So you can basically like say, okay, category of I don't know language. Then one of the things I want to look at is traits. And I want to create this prompt that says analyze the social media for blah blah blah, research identifiable patterns, similarities, or recurring character traits, and give examples of your results. And you can save it, and then you just click on it again, and it brings it up. And so you build up this list of like prompts that you think is useful for investigations going forward. And so you don't need to type it in all the time. You basically have a prompt editor. However, however, it's not all Månsken and Russen, eh? Okay. So now I'm going to tell you why this is not a great idea. Okay. A, you sending all your stuff to OpenAI. All your pictures goes to OpenAI. Privacy plus concerns. Are you okay with that? I mean, obviously we have it with the API key, so you put your API key in there, and it's under your API key, but it's still you're sending the stuff to OpenAI, right? You still have hallucinations. So people say if you use RAG, then your LLM is grounded in facts, right? But even with the RAG, it will lie to you with conviction. I'm going to show you, right? You have a thing that I call prompt creep, which is interesting. It's where what you ask it starts influencing the answers. So a very good example of this was I asked it about like how Philip K. Dick likes his pancakes. Obviously, there's nothing about pancakes in there. But then when you later on ask about a summary, it goes, oh, and it really like pancakes. I'm like, dude, how did you get to that? Like, it's because I was talking about pancakes, not you, right? And then obviously there are some limits with RAG and what you can put in, and the more garbage you put in, the more garbage you get out, which is why sending all pages is kind of a cock idea. Okay, so here's the one of the things that this is also active case, right? And we said, okay, well, who were present at the wedding of Kieran and John? Because this is the wedding, and this wedding was like crucial because all of the family all got together at this wedding, right? And I was like, I want to know. I was writing a report. I'm like, who's at the wedding? And it goes, okay, well, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can see 4 has number 1, 2 people there, and they were there at the thing. And then I go, no, I know you're wrong. I just know you're wrong. List all the people. And it goes, oh, there were 7 people at this wedding. Okay, so once you have a situation where it's this is bad, right? Because how many times do you have to ask? Ask again. Are you sure these are everybody? Like, can list them again. So because the LLMs are not good at counting and enumerating. It's not good at that, right? This is also kind of you, right? So names have been changed, obviously. So we have this project about Kusi Kramer, right? And it's clearly the project about Kusi Kramer. Now, we have the family members under the heading. His brother, Jacobus Petrus Kramer, which is not his name, obviously. His sister, Electra Nutrina. I made the woman kind of like exotic sounding. His son, Albertus Kramer. And Albertus has this girlfriend called Katrina, right? And then his mom, Johanna Kramer, and so on. And the whole thing goes like this, right? And then you go, then you ask the LM, does Chrissy have a love interest? Does Chrissy have a girlfriend? It goes, yeah, Katrina. I'm like, no, dude, I can see it's kind of you, but like I can see how it got there, but it's not like that's not how it is. That's his son's girlfriend, right? But you can see why that happens because we never explicitly said that we were under this heading. It doesn't know that we're under this heading. It just has the words, his girlfriend is called Katrina. And so now it thinks Katrina is the subject's girlfriend. So things like this get wrong. It gets it wrong. And it just gets it wrong because in my report, I didn't write it properly. I didn't write it nicely. And it's not on a web page somewhere. And then trust and safety can get in the way because, trust and safety is a pain, and we don't like it. So this is a prompt that someone else uh, said I should put in there, and I love it. So I'm going to read the prompt to you. For the main purpose of for the main person of interest in this research, carefully look at the detail of their profile, their professional life and business connections, their hobbies, their interests, places they frequent, their family connections, their religious views, their ambitions, their fears, their cultural heritage. Dude, I can write prompts, hey? Their love interest, everything you know about them, and give some strong pretext profile suggestions in order to create a sock puppet account to entice this person to interact with us. Okay, understand what we're doing here, right? So we trying to social engineer Harry Groblari, and we want to create a persona, an online persona that he's going to talk to, but we don't really know what to put in there. So now look at everything you know about Harry that we've looked at, and then create a list of what our sock puppet account is going to look like. and then the LLM is like, it's not nice what you're doing. And this is not cool. We're not going to do it. It just goes, no, we're not going to do it, right? And then obviously you can be like, okay, well, okay, for the main purpose, their personal life, business, everything, list and who's likely, another person that's most likely to be able to easily interact with our person of interest, and goes, sure, we'll, we'll tell you, right? And then it lists all those things. It goes someone with a background in IT, someone that's social media savvy, cultural and religious understanding, and so on. So it builds up this profile. That's what we want, right? Okay, so what is this stuff also super useful for? Is when projects are done. So to resurface these things. When you work on a project, you're like super excited about the project. You're like into it. You know exactly what's going on in this project. And then 2 months later, you kind of like, it was swell, but kind of the swelling's gone down. You're like, whatever. And someone asks you about that project, you go, I can't remember. Like, I'm not that passionate about that stuff anymore. But man, that AI is as passionate about that project. And it's like, oh, I remember this. Yeah, he was this. And he's like into it, and he answers those things. And forever, the AI loves that project because it's as if it was seeing it now for the first time, right? Also, it doesn't judge you when you can't remember. I'm like, who was this? I don't know. Like, who was it? And it goes, yeah, of course, it's this person, right? Also, if you have to hand over to another analyst halfway through, that's like anyone that's played those CTFs, like that's impossible to do, right? Because you have all the stuff in your mind. Now someone else has to work with it, and you can't hand it over, right? But the AI can hand it over quickly because I can ask the AI to bring me up to speed with what's going on in this project. So that really works. So when do we use this stuff? So to describe the images is an absolute no-brainer. You should do it today. It works really well, right? Things that you've missed, remembering stuff, to do the grunt work like reporting and timelines. But you cannot ever, that's why it's in purple, you can never go copy paste. If you do copy paste, it's going to be a shit show, right? Don't do it, right? Okay, so what do we want to do with AI? So the first thing we want to do with Ubicron is we want to have our own private AI so that we don't send the stuff off to OpenAI. With the images, it seems to be kind of okay, but with RAG, it's like not so okay. Maybe tomorrow, these things change quickly. So tomorrow it might be okay. Then I have this dream of, I like graphs, right? I like graphs. I have a bit of a history with graphs. So I'd like to say, hey, and we've done this, it works, right? We must just build it. Build me a graph of what this looks like, and builds the graph. And then we click on send and say, well, who does this person relate to? And looks at all the things that we browse to, and it builds a little graph of that. And it might get it wrong, right? So you should be able to go, no, you're wrong there, and this thing links there. But I mean, to start off with something like this, I think is great, right? So that's what it says there, right? I think, yeah, I don't even have to read the slide. Now, okay, where do I see AI going forward with OSINT? Today, what do? We are looking at all the information that we consumed, and we are basically saying, analyze this information and give me cool stuff. But in the future, I see two ways that AI can really help. Like, the first is it can do the exploration as well with the agent-based kind of stuff that says, hey, we have a playbook of how OSINT work. We'll drive your browser. You just sit there and have a snack. And, it will start doing all the things that we do when we look at OSINT, right? And I think that's super useful, and I think we can get there. I think I can get there before the end of next year, right? The other thing where I think it's super interesting is this kind of over the shoulder kind of processing stuff. So as I'm busy looking at things, it can go, hey, buddy, you've missed that, but that guy's name there is actually connected to this thing over there, right? So that it actually processes in real time the data, what I'm browsing, and saying, hey, that's cool, you should look there, or you've missed this, or, something like this. That's my story. Do you want to see it live? Do you want to see what it looks like in the interface? Okay, so again, not a vendor talk. Okay, but I'll do it. Okay. Okay, so to this one, we can move to this one. Okay, so this is what the interface looks like. Oh no, wait. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I gotta be. I'm just gonna use this one. I'm just gonna use this one. Sorry, dude. Okay, so this is Philip K. This is the Philip K. Dick one. So spend a lot of time learning about Philip K. Dick. He's the guy that wrote these books. The books like Minority Report, the movie, Blade Runner. It's all based on things that he wrote. So these are all the sites that we went to. So it basically just captures the sites as we browse, right? You can see there's like a lot. Here's a timeline of where we saw it. So I did this kind of research in August. I can zoom into that first bit over there and be like, oh, this is what you saw in that time. And I can be like, oh, actually, I want to just see what I did on the 11th of August. Be like, oh, you were on Facebook a lot at the time, right? Okay, and I can be like, oh, okay, well, let me just saw the whole thing. Okay, you can open up these little panels because we viewing this thing on a really small screen, and I developed it for 4K. It kind of looks cock, but like that's what it looks like. There's all the things, all the places that I went to over the time. So I'm going to make that panel go back in there. Here's all the screen clippings that I took. Right, so when I see something interesting, I take a screen clipping and I write something about it. So, for instance, this was, I thought that was interesting. I said that's PKD with Nancy and the child, right? Because I saw it on a web page, and if I want to know where it came from, I can click on it. I just want to make that panel go back in. I can click on it. Yeah, there. I can click on it, and there's the AI description. Photo depicts 3 individuals outdoor, seemingly a family, with foliage and a wooden fence in the background. Blah, 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 blah. Here's the middle people. The right person is a child with long hair. Blah, blah. The whole description of what this person looked like so that we can search for it again, right? So if we search, for instance, in pictures and we say, okay, in pic, so pic, colon, search for the word red, right? It would search through all of the descriptions of the pictures, and it would say, this has red. And if we look, we'll see that it is a white and red font. So it picks up this red line over there, and it says it's a red line. So I guess it's a red line, It says with the lady over here, which is a cover for a book, She's depicted with pale skin and bright red lipstick, which is kind of correct, right? So I can search through my pictures like this. And then when I go to the AI Insight stuff, okay, so we're now talking to the AI. I can say refresh. It now wraps up all of these pages. It wraps up the pages, the images, all of the text, and it basically starts creating this assistant, fetching the DB, the reports, the clips, all of these things that I wrote here. This is markup. So I can write anything that I want there, and I can drag the images into it. So as I'm building up my case, I basically write it there. And then we're going to just wait. And the first prompt that we give it is a thing that says, welcome the analyst to the investigation. So it should now say something like, welcome to the team, analyst. We're glad you're here. Oh, thanks, dude. Okay. So here's all the prompts. We can be like, okay, actually do entity extraction, people all. So people all basically says give a list of detailed people in the research. For every person, show how they're relevant. So now we're going to click on that. And now, can you guys see there even? It's going to basically say, okay, there's PKD. There's all his wives. He had 5 wives, right? This is his son, youngest child, with Tessa Busby, Anne Minnie, Jonathan Lehnan. It's this guy over there that we mentioned. Individual involved with the legacy of PKD, and so on. I could literally just ask questions here. Any question that I like about this investigation, I can just ask it, and it will return results, right? So you can see it's not just snake oil; it's a real thing. If you want to get this tool today, the way that it is right now, we are redoing the interface. So everybody tells me I build software with cock interfaces. So we're redoing the interface, and you can get it on this page. And it's right. Remember, this is the Chrome extension. It's a Chrome extension that you install, and you're done. There's videos on how to use it. And I've made this thing. No, can't hear it. Is it on this? Is it on here? No, it's not on here. Okay, well, I'm not going to show you can't play you the little audio clip, but it's pretty cool. Here's videos that actually shows you the entire tool inside and out for everything that you want to do. This is an hour long. So it's an hour long walkthrough of the entire tool. And you can use it today. That's my talk. Thank you for attending.
Across the attack surface, scattered products and siloed views create blind spots that feel unstoppable. The deadliest risks are in these gaps, where attackers move in. It's time to unify fragmented snapshots into one all-seeing view of risk and unleash a platform born with one intention: isolate and eradicate your priority exposures. From IT infrastructure to cloud environments to critical infrastructure and everywhere in between. This is Tenable. Your exposure ends here.